Hello, my name is Michelle, and you're listening to Profit is a Choice. On our show today, we have Kate Grunke, also known as Kate the Socialite, and she is a podcaster with The Kate Show. She is also a published author and the founder of Socialite. Kate is the owner of a marketing company that specializes in marketing for interior designers, drapery workrooms, and home stagers. Her number one goal is to help professionals market their business with ease and simplicity through email newsletters, social media, graphic design, and web design. I met Kate a few years ago online, and we started working together business to business, and now we're really great friends. The episode today is it's a fun one for me because we get to talk about our brands. We get to talk about marketing within a niche. And, we really came up with a couple of words that I would say are very important, and that would be confidence, consistency, and connect. And so we want to make sure that our marketing portrays the confidence that we have in our business and in our solution to the problem that our ideal client is having. And so Kate's going to talk to us about that. We also have to have consistency in our marketing. It doesn't do us any good to show up here and there, but not have a consistent message, a consistent platform, and a consistent delivery. And so we'll dive into that a little bit. And then we have to make sure to connect. So if we are confident in what we're doing and we're being consistent, we also need to make sure we're connecting in the sales process as well as in the delivery process. And both of those come by marketing to the right client with the right solution. And so enjoy those 3 C's today: confidence, consistency, and connect, as we talk with Kate Grunke. Every day, empowered entrepreneurs are taking ownership of their company financial health and enjoying the rewards of reduced stress and more creativity. With my background as a financial software developer, owner of multiple businesses in the interior design industry, educator, and speaker, I coach women in the interior design industry to increase their profits, regain ownership of their bottom line, and to have fun again in their business. Welcome to Profit is a Choice. Hey, Kate, I'm so glad you're with us today.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I am thrilled to be here.
Well, I just want to start this off by telling you the same way I told Syl DeGuglielmo. Thank you so much for encouraging me to begin this podcast journey. You and I have done a couple together for your show, and you made the comment, Michelle, have you really thought about doing a podcast? And you pushed me outside of my comfort zone, and I love you for that. I hate you for that sometimes, not really. But I appreciate your support. So many people could easily say, why would I tell somebody else to podcast if I'm podcasting? Or why would I tell them to do this if I'm doing something similar? And yet you and Syl just did the exact opposite. You were like, go, go, go. What resources can I share with you? How can I get you to go? And I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart how thankful I am for you.
Oh, you're very sweet. And I mean, Syl and I both have had such great results from podcasting, and I haven't been podcasting for very long. It's probably been about 10 months, but it has totally transformed my business and gotten me so much publicity. And then when I look at you and your message and how you help so many people, I'm like, oh, this woman needs to be heard. So I'm glad that you're doing the podcast. I am so excited about it.
Good. Well, let's hope that it goes on for the time that whatever it is that it's meant to be. And my hope is that it will impact people's lives and their businesses the same way your podcast has, because I listen to yours every week when you put it up, and I love it. And I'm sitting back here shaking my head. Yes.
Oh no, I'm going to be thinking about this now when I'm recording, like, oh, Michelle's listening.
That's right. I do. I listen. I mean, I've sent you emails even after them to let you know what I think. So why don't you, Kate, introduce yourself to my listeners and just tell us a little bit about your business, because you have multiple facets of your company as well.
Yeah. So I'm known as Kate the Socialite. My actual name is Kate Grunke, but it's a German last name. Nobody can spell it. And it's just, I go by Kate the Socialite, and I specialize in helping interior designers and home stagers and window treatment workrooms market their businesses. So like I'm literally like eyeballs deep into the home industry every single work day of the week. And I'm passionate about it because people in this industry have unique marketing struggles. It's definitely not a one size fits all. And I love being able to help mostly other women. I mean, most of my clients are women, much like you, Michelle. And there's a special way that women need to approach marketing, especially because a lot of us struggle with confidence.
I met you, I want to say, was it 2016? And I needed somebody to help create websites for my clients. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, before I have somebody create a website for my clients, I'll have them create a website for me. And so I remember reaching out to you and going through that process. And I just have to tell you, it was so enjoyable. It was worth every penny I spent with you. Even my husband, he was so thankful for you. He's never met you. But I'm like many in our industry, you start off doing so many things yourself. And then you get to the point that you realize I really need help, and it's okay to ask for that help. And now I can go spend my time doing the things that I'm really great at. And while I had built, I'll say, a utilitarian website, it was okay. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't optimized, none of those things. And you just got in there. I loved it that you were on Squarespace, that's where you were working, and that's where my website was. So I didn't have to, move it over to some other platform. But you freed me up, and my husband recognized the difference, which is interesting, right? That I was free at night. I wasn't now working all day and then spending every night and weekend, for 6 months, which is what it would have taken me to do what you were able to do in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, and I'm really glad that we were able to meet online and then you just immediately get this relationship going. It started out as a business relationship, but now it's like I consider you my friend and my mentor. And it's just so cool how that started. But yeah, with your website, like you had all the right ingredients, and then we just come in and we whip up that cocktail that's unique to your brand.
Is that do you see that happen with other clients as well? I know some probably come to you with a a piece of paper and this is what I'd like, right? An idea. And others probably come to you with some kind of formed out website that maybe doesn't look as professional, or they've shifted gears, or it's just like mine. It was so outdated. It just needed to look fresh. Do you have them come both directions?
I do. So some people come to me or my team and they have never had a website before. So they're a little bit unsure about the process. And then once we get done working with them, they are often like, oh, well, that was actually a lot less complicated than I thought. And I'm like, well, good, because it's not supposed to be complicated. And then I have people who already have a website. Maybe it's outdated, or maybe it's actually an okay website, but it no longer aligns with their vision for their business. It just feels very disjointed to them, and it portrays them in a way that is just simply not who they are. So they come to us and they're like, hey, I need XYZ. I know exactly what I want. Or they'll say, I'm not quite sure what I want. I just know I need something different. And that's when we work with them and we spend some time on Pinterest gathering ideas, because it's important for both of us to have visuals before we move forward. And it's a very organic process, but it's also a very structured process. And that's why we're able to develop a new website from start to finish in 2.5 weeks.
That just blows me away. I mean, I know it's because you're good at what you do, you're focused at what you do, and you have a process for what you do. I know that because I got to walk through the process, and that's super important. I'm going to switch gears a minute and ask you, as you started your Kate the Socialite company, did you go into it immediately thinking I'm going to be profitable right now and defining what profit meant to you?
Oh, so that's a messy story. I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. I didn't know what it meant to be profitable. I didn't have my target client or my niche market figured out. Just to put it in perspective for everybody, I am a country girl from the poorest county in Wisconsin, and those things could have been hindrances to me. But thankfully, I was able to break out of the restrictive money mindset that comes from growing up in that way. And Michelle, you helped me with a lot of that. And I wish I had met you earlier on in my business, or even before I had started my business, because in the first 2 years of my business, yes, I was making a profit, but no, I really wasn't paying myself. And to me, that's really not being profitable. It just means I can pay my overhead, and then what? Then nothing, then I still feel like crap, and I still have really low confidence, and I feel afraid of money. Like, opening my QuickBooks account was giving me a stomach ache. That's not how it's supposed to be. And I didn't know that. I thought I just wasn't good with money. And thankfully, I married a man who helped me become more confident with money, because he is good with money. And then I met you, and I found all the different reasons why I had these money mindset issues. And then, what do you know? I had my first 6-figure year the year I met you. Like, how is that even possible? Like, it's insane.
Well, I know how it's possible. Number one, I'll tell you how it's possible. You got focused, right? I think you became aware of what was holding you back, mindsets, beliefs. And I think God really blessed you. I think you were just extremely blessed in that time frame to find the awareness and to be able to go back and look at lessons because that is not an easy process. We can laugh and giggle and push forward on this side of it, but those were some painful days. I mean, we had some very painful conversations in there. And I'll tell you, and I told you then when they started coming up, because tears get shed a lot in my coaching practice. That everybody cries when I teach. Everybody cries when I coach at some point. And I'm thinking, I'm not trying to make you cry. But I think what happens is we get outdone with the lies we've believed, right? Or the mindsets that have held us back. And we start to see the truth of what we have been given and what we can do and what skills we have and how we can reframe them. And so I told you then, you were not the only one. I've had to struggle with some of that in my own life. And I think as women, I think there's a lot of struggle because we're supposed to be nurturers and givers and all this other stuff. And then, what do you do with all the extra? And is there extra? And maybe I shouldn't charge extra. And, it gets to be a very twisted conversation. So there is success on the other side of the twisted conversation though, right?
Oh my goodness, there is. And there's so much confidence that comes with it too. And I think to a certain extent, the confidence is more valuable than even the money itself, because it just propels us forward. And it's not a false sense of confidence. It's not like, I'm like, oh, I am so successful. I am so special. No, it's more like, I truly know that I have been gifted with a certain skill set that people need. And it is not wrong for me as a woman, as a believer, to run a successful business, to charge what I'm worth, to raise my prices if necessary. And there's nothing unhealthy about that. And every now and then I meet other women, whether or not they are my clients, and I often end up referring them to you, Michelle, because they sound just like I did a few years ago. And I'm like, oh, girl, let me tell you, once you break through this wall, you will never look back. And it's an incredible feeling. It's not just about the money. Profit is about the confidence.
I just interviewed Mike Michalowicz earlier, and he made the comment that he sees profit as sustainability. And I love that, because the whole reason we're profiting, and I'm talking profit in addition to salary, so not in place of, like you were intimating at the beginning, you were able to cover overhead and maybe there was a couple thousand, but that's not truly profitable if you didn't pay yourself a salary. So if you think of profit separate from our salary, what we're paid to do the work that we do, it actually is sustainability, so that we will be here the next time somebody needs our services, that we have the ability to solve a problem for them. And so there's just so many conversations, even just around that one point. But if we don't get that right, I don't think there's any amount. It doesn't matter how good you are at marketing if you don't get that piece right, because you will lose your passion to stay in marketing or to stay in advertising or whatever it is, design. We'll just lose the passion if we're not being paid for it. And I think one of the big keys that you got, and that we all have to get, is that when we are paid, it is an exchange. It is saying you're exchanging your money for the product, the service, the value, the worth that I'm bringing to you. And so it really has nothing to do with that other person, the client, the consumer paying us. It has everything to do with how we value what we're doing.
Yes, yes. And, sometimes I hear from people that, well, if I raise my prices, people are going to complain. And then I say, well, either they are not your client, which is entirely possible, or perhaps your perceived value is still too low. Like you're valuable and what you do is valuable, but if you're presenting yourself in a way that makes you seem discounted, there's going to be a huge disconnect between your brand and your pricing. And we want to make sure all of those line up. And I know that that's something that you helped me with and you help a lot of people with, because it is hard, especially for creative women. Like, we run our businesses like charities, and then we get upset that our charitable business doesn't bring us what we need to make ends meet. And it's like such a mindset issue.
It really is. It really is. I always just keep going back and reading Proverbs 31. And it says that, that's like the proverbial perfect woman, if you will. And it keeps saying in Proverbs that she runs her household, she has a field, she makes money, she has employees. Well, she would have to be profitable to do those things. And then it says, her husband is revered at the city gate, meaning there is pride because the family is run well, him as well. And then it says her children rise up and call her blessed. Mm-hmm. And so this is a woman, and I know that seems hard, and I'm not trying to put this great big pressure on anybody, but that's what relieved me to know that woman had value and worth. She and her husband and her family were respected in their community, and she worked, and she had other people, she had employees, and she had to manage all of that. And that actually freed me up to realize that I could do it the same, and I could balance it all to not be a charity. And let's be honest, if we are so worried, if we're complaining that we're not making a profit, and then we're worried that if we raise our prices, the client's going to complain, we really are down to who are we okay with complaining, us or them?
Yep.
Right? And so at some point, we've got to say, I'm done with being complaining. I'm going to go up. And if they complain, I'm just going to go find a new client and keep moving. And this is all, again, knowing that the product and service is in alignment with the price being charged, not like we're offering a junky product service and not doing it. So tell me this, Kate, how do you help? Because again, I know you see the same thing I see, because when they come to you with their marketing, sometimes their marketing is not really expressive for the value and worth, like you said, that they want to communicate. So there is a misalignment between the price they need to put on something and the visual display of their brand to match that. How do you step in and have the conversation with them?
So I start by going over every inch of their existing website, if they have one, and their social media. And then I talk to them. And I usually do this all in a form of a paid consultation, because if I believe their time is valuable, I also have to believe that my time is valuable, which I know that it is. And I go through every inch of this and I tell them, okay, this is a message that I am currently getting from your marketing. And I actually had a conversation with an interior designer last week, and I hadn't met her yet. So I went through her website and her social media, and it painted this picture for me of someone who seemed a little bit uppity, somebody who seemed very, like, as we say in Wisconsin, highfalutin, where it's like, oh, like, I am a high-end designer, Okay, so then I call her for the consultation and she says, oh, hey, y'all. And I'm like, what? I was like, what is going on here? And I told her too, I said, I liked you from the very first word you said, but you are nothing like what your marketing portrays. And that's a concern, because who you are as a real person, even just on the phone, I feel like I want to be friends with you. I want you to come into my house and make it beautiful. But from your website, I didn't get that. I got the feeling that I was going to be judged. I got the feeling that you're just going to charge me a lot of money, and I wasn't sure if the value was going to be there. And like, are you going to force your design opinions on me, or do I get to choose? And these are all real concerns that homeowners have when they're considering working with a designer. So when I presented all of this to her, she took it really well. I mean, she's a super nice person and obviously a very talented designer. And she's like, okay, well, let's fix it. And I'm like, okay, we're going to. And so, I'm doing a website for her. It's going to happen in the next month or so. But it's like, if there is a disconnect, I'm going to tell you. And that's how the rest of my team is too, because we firmly believe in the business owner, whether you are a small business or you're a large business. If the messaging is not consistent, you're never going to be able to confidently raise your prices, and you're going to have a bunch of confused customers, and confused customers don't come back.
There are so many things I love about that conversation. The first is I've been on the receiving end of your love.
AKA nagging.
No. Listen, I'm a hard truth, go at it, tell it like it is kind of gal. You know that because you've been on the other end of my love.
Yep.
Right? But here's the thing. When somebody really cares about elevating you and helping you, paid and unpaid, I mean, they really care. I want to hear that feedback because I know that feedback is not meant to hurt me or to harm me. It's meant to prosper me. And so however hard or difficult that conversation, you have to be in the right headspace to receive it, but I appreciate it. And you've done some of the same for me, looking over things and saying, Michelle, I understand where you're going. You're always kind of going, I know what you're trying to do, or I get it. Here's a better way that stays more consistent. And I do think that message is huge, that consistency message. And from what I've seen, a lot of the reason the disconnects happen, number one is we're trying to do things ourselves. We should totally hire out, right? I just believe that. But I get it when we're first starting, we've got to bootstrap it. But at some point, we need to let somebody else work in their zone of genius while we work in ours. But with that said, I think there's still this people pleasing. We're trying to be all things to all people. We're trying to, like you said earlier, not niche down, not be direct and say, this is who I am. This is what I have to offer. And this is who I'm offering it to, because we almost feel like we're going to lose all this work. And then we start grasping. And were you the one that I heard on your podcast the other day that if it may have been Jacqueline who said it, if you're trying to be all things to all people, you're nothing to anybody?
Yeah. So my friend Jacqueline, she's a ghost blogger for interior designers. And I had her on my podcast recently, and we were just talking about how it is absolutely impossible to think that you could be good at design blogging if you have no idea who you're writing to. Because a blog post is essentially a letter to somebody specifically. And you can't make it to whom it may concern. It actually has to be directed towards someone, and you have to understand what they're struggling with. So if you're an interior designer, you need to know what are their interior design needs. Like, that is a basic question, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do they have shelter? Do they have safety? At what point do you come in and save the day? And the same is true in any aspect of your marketing. You have to know who you're talking to. Absolutely. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much money you throw into marketing or advertising. It's not going to give you a return on your investment.
And I think that's also the point when you looked at that website, what you took from it was not what that designer necessarily intended. I always ask my clients, I kind of do my Southernism as well. And I'll say, are other people picking up what you're putting down?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. Is what they're getting from looking at your marketing true for what you're putting out there? And quite often there's a disconnect, and that cost us. That cost us with getting the wrong clients. It cost us with getting the wrong jobs at the wrong price, which affects our profitability, right? So it's the ripple effect of that can be seen for quite some time. And usually we don't realize that the whole, let's say, identity crisis is us, not them.
It's kind of a scary thing because it's easy to fix, but it means mindset work. for ourselves. And that can be the hardest thing depending on where we are, mentally, and what our headspace is like. So if there is a disconnect in our marketing and people aren't understanding what we're putting out there, and we think we're presenting ourselves one way and they're taking it another way, and we don't believe in ourselves enough to outsource it, to get the right help, to get things realigned, people will spot a low confidence a mile away. And that was my problem early on in business. I didn't believe in myself at all. And that was pretty much apparent in my marketing, from my website to my social media to even my logo. It just said cheap. It just said discounted. It said, I really don't believe in myself, but if you want to believe in me, that's cool. And it's like, that doesn't instill confidence in anybody. So yes, it all comes back to the business owner. And like you said, Michelle, sometimes in the beginning, we have to wear all the hats. That is fine, but that's not how it's supposed to be forever. And there does come a certain point where you have to believe in yourself and start treating your business like it's already the successful business that you want, because that is the only way it will get there.
And I am actually still shocked to some degree that my husband even noticed what a big deal it was for me to hire somebody out to do the website. I'd hired other professionals to do small things, but he even realized what that meant about where my company was going and growing, because I could let go of some of those things that when we're starting as a solopreneur, we kind of think we need to hold on to everything so tightly. And we don't know everything about everything. And so being able to let it go, to find the right company and person to trust, and then step back and trust them. It actually is an amazing feeling. And once you've started to do it, you want to find more ways to do it.
Yes, it's kind of addictive in a
Yes.
good way. Like yesterday, I hired my fourth person for my immediate team. It's really exciting to be at this point, because I started out just me, $4,000 to my name, couldn't get much smaller than that. But now it's like, sure, I have all the regular things outsourced, like my CPA, my bookkeeper, legal advisor, but then I'm able to add people to my everyday team to help me with the everyday ways that I'm serving clients and customers. And the more I do it, the more I want to do it. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to hire a specialist for social media, which I did. I'm going to hire a specialist for user experience web design, which I did. I'm going to hire a specialist in MailChimp customer service, which I just did yesterday. And it's like, this feels right, because for some reason, the more people that I hire or the more I outsource, yes, my overhead goes up a little bit, but the take home goes up considerably. And that is not an accident.
And you're more profitable with your time. You're spending your time working on forward movement for the company, where it can go next. It's back to E-Myth. You now get to become the entrepreneur again, and you're not stuck only in technician mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And technician mode, I get it. We all have to start out there because we have to keep our heads down. We got to grow the businesses. But then when you finally have the ability to take a breath, come up for air, you're like, wait a minute, I'm the captain of this ship. Like, I actually get to decide what happens next. And if all I'm doing is crouched over rowing this little rowboat, we're not actually going to get to that big island over there. We actually have to have somebody at the helm. So being the person at the helm means that we may not always be the ones doing all the creative work like we would like to be, but that's entrepreneurship. And we can decide where we fit in, and we can outsource the right things to the right people, as you said, but it's a development pattern.
It really is. So, Kate, when a designer comes to you, they've outgrown their own ability to do their website or to do it internally, and they start working with you either on the newsletters, or, and we'll talk about those in a minute, or the website, or whatever way they choose to engage with Kate the Socialite, the company. What do you see as their number one struggle or challenge? I know we've talked about a lot of different pieces and parts, but what do you see as their number one challenge, and how do you see it affecting their ability to be profitable?
So for a lot of them, it is a lack of time, but that is also coupled with a lack of knowledge around marketing, which is something I can't fault them for because they are interior designers or they run workrooms. Like their brain is so full of everything they actually do need to know. They should not be expected to then know all things about marketing and how to build a sales funnel and how to like run an email campaign. Like, no. So when people come to me, they either say, I want you to just handle all of it. I'll just approve things every now and then. Like, I don't even want to look at it if I don't have to. I don't want to think about it, and that's great. There are other people, yeah, as you raise your hand.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's because they are so busy being the entrepreneur and pushing the needle forward. They can't be in the trenches, in like every single trench of their business. That's not even feasible. Then there are this other subset of customers that I have who still have the time to do it on their own, but they need a little bit of guidance. And that's where some of my more affordable options come in because I have different pricing tiers for different needs. I know what it's like to be bootstrapping it and to realize that, you kind of need some help, but not quite ready to fully outsource. So we've got a solution for that too.
And some people still want to do it, not because they have to, but because they enjoy it. And I love that you have options for all of those things. So as we are looking to hire a marketing firm, we'll talk about that specifically since that's your zone of genius. When we're looking to hire a marketing firm, either to, I don't know, do everything for us or a bit and piece, what are some things we should look for and what are some questions we should ask them to make sure that we're in alignment? Because, you can look, I've worked with a marketing firm that I would say didn't get me and did not get my industry. And everything looked so technical. It made me cringe. I've even brought you and Jacqueline in to clean up some of it, right? Because I knew it did not feel like me. So what is it that, what's the conversation that you should have?
Yeah, and I'm just going to honestly refer back to the conversations I have had with my clients who have worked with other marketing companies, because when I onboard a new client, I say, tell me about the last marketing company you hired. What did you like and what did you not like? And what are your expectations? Because I want to know, because maybe you're expecting something that I'm not actually planning on delivering, so it's good to have that conversation. And that's the conversation that you should be having with any potential marketing company. First of all, you need to ask, do you specialize in my industry or in my specific need? And if they don't, then you're going to have to either find a different marketing company or you'll have to change your expectations. Either of those are fine. It just depends on where you want to take it and what your goals are for your business. So if you end up working with a marketing company and you're an interior designer, but they also do marketing for like financial sector, real estate, like just random things, if that's how that company wants to operate, that is fine. But chances are they will not be able to meet your expectations, and more importantly, they won't be able to meet your needs because each industry is so specific. So like I specialize in interior design. So if I have a banker who comes to me and says that he wants a marketing campaign so that he can reach out to more people, I would be like, sorry, dude, I have no clue how to do that. And that's deliberate. Like I don't study that industry. I have no knowledge of how a sales funnel like that would work. I don't understand your clientele. But when it comes to a different industry, design, home staging, workrooms, you have to have somebody who is in the trenches with you, understanding the nuances, because there are certain ways that interior designers will communicate with their clients that other business owners simply don't. It's a very intimate service because you're coming into people's homes, and that means your marketing has to be done a specific way. It has to be personable, but it also has to be respectful. And there's just little nuances like that. So you have to make sure that the marketing company is specializing in what you need. And then you have to ask them, how available are you? And are you willing to make adjustments based on my feedback? because you'd be surprised how many people have told me when they are working with a marketing company, they will request changes and those changes are never implemented, or they request the changes and there's pushback and the company basically refuses. And that means that they're set in their ways, and maybe their ways work really well for different businesses, but maybe not for yours. So you've got to look at what they're doing, and if it doesn't resonate with you right now, it's not going to resonate with your business anymore when they're working on your account.
I love how you have mentioned, honestly, I would call it almost the intimacy with the industry. Mm-hmm. So not just even the intimacy in the home of carrying on this conversation, which in a lot of interior design, it's woman-to-woman sales in the home. And so I've had a lot of clients who've come to me and said they've been to other coaches who didn't understand the interior design industry, and they're telling them to do these things, and they keep saying, but it won't work. And it's because they're using more corporate, maybe programs or sales methods. And while we can glean from that, we have to turn it around and make it intimate. And our marketing has to be the same. It's the same reason that my pricing class and my Profit First class are geared toward the industry, because you can't just take it and go do it without thinking about how does money flow in and out of our company? How do we make decisions in our company? And so marketing is the same from what you're saying. And I know I've experienced it firsthand, where I had, other people that were not intimate with this industry, and they did not understand the messaging. Not only did they not understand the messaging, I don't know that they really had a good grasp of what I was doing. Even though I tried to explain it, I almost cringed sometimes when I opened up social media to see what was on there. And so I know that once I started working with your firm, I've never had to worry that I'm going to wake up and see something that's going to freak me out or freak a client out. If anything, I have people email me and say, I can't wait to look at what you're putting out there. And that tells me that I'm doing something right with the team that I work with.
And thank you for saying that, because that all comes down to, we just have to know the industry that we're serving. And I might get some flack from listeners for saying this, but that's never stopped me on my own podcast, so it's not going to stop me here. There is honestly no way a marketing company can be successful if they are trying to serve everyone across the spectrum. There will be a limited level of success, and that is it. And by success, I don't just mean that own company's profits, but I also mean how happy their clients are and the return on the investment from the client perspective. You have to specialize. There is no way around it.
And that's the same thing that we were just saying earlier about finding our own niche and not being all things to all people. We then can't go hire companies and firms and subcontractors that are all things to all people. We're not hiring handymen. I'm going to use that term loosely, handymen, handy women, who are able to just go out and do a little bit of everything. That's really not what we should hire for marketing.
No, because it ends up being an investment. And that's completely fine, but you have to do your homework before making that investment, and, be careful of signing contracts, because there are so many people who have come to me and they're like, I just got out of my contract. I was stuck in it for a year. I just got out. I mean, they act like it's a prison break. They are so excited. And they're like, I just want to come work with you. And I'm like, that is great. And they're like, well, what about your contracts? And I'm like, well, here's the thing. If you want a website, I have a contract. Everything else is month to month, because I know what it's like to be stuck in a contract. So that's the other thing you have to ask a marketing company, like, what are your contracts like? And if they're trying to lock you into something that's longer than 3 months, why? Why do they want you to stay when maybe you don't want to stay? Like, what are their intentions for you? It's kind of like a dating relationship. It's okay to ask up front, what are your intentions?
I love that. So, Kate, marketing feels very overwhelming to a lot of people. I mean, I know you have, we'll see if this is still your advice, choose maybe, let's say, 2 social media channels and then just pour all in. But we are inundated with social media opportunities and channels and Facebook and blog post and podcast and Facebook Live and now Instagram Live. And I mean, it is just there. It seems like almost every week there's a new social media opportunity. And I'm not going to lie. Here I am starting a podcast, but part of me just wants to shrink away from all of it. It feels like it's too much. So thankfully I can take a step back and then just look at it when I want. But if I were the one having to do every single bit of it for my company all the time, it's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. And there is not a week that goes by I am not telling somebody on my podcast, in an email, in my Facebook group, okay, stop everything you're doing on social media. Just stop it, because you're burning yourself out, and people can tell when you're burnt out. They can tell when you really don't want to be there. So I tell them, you pick one social platform and do a good job on that one. You don't need to be everywhere. Don't let anyone ever tell you you need to be on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat and House. And it's like, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, I'm not on
schizophrenic. Yeah. I feel
yes.
schizophrenic when all of that happens. And I'm like, I can't, it literally, I am not an ADD person. I just, I've got family members that struggle with that. That is not my struggle. But all of that social media makes me feel that way. It brings up feelings of incompetency. It brings up feelings of stress. It just, all the things that I'm meaning for it to do, it actually feels weighty to me. Right. And I know I'm not alone, because my clients tell me that. I'm in a couple of your Facebook groups. I see it. You speak to it over and over and over. And let's talk about just the lack of profitability, because we're so burned out. Because then we might go out there and say something we don't mean to say, snap at something we don't, and there's a ripple effect to that.
Yeah. And I think that's twofold. That there are two sides to that coin. So I've had some people get so upset about something that they said on social media, and they're like, how do I take it back? I'm like, well, first of all, you can always delete it if you said something wrong. Because unfortunately, nobody is sitting there waiting for your next update. Like, that's just not reality. It's not the way the social media algorithms work. So you need to give yourself a break in that regard. You're not sealing your fate just because you posted one thing that maybe wasn't that great. I've had to delete my own Facebook posts several times over the past few years, because I went back and I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't sound right. Or I'll start getting emails about it. And I'm like, okay, that's not the message I intended to put out there. And I delete it, and everyone forgets about it. So it's just coming back to, like, there's no such thing as a marketing emergency. You can always hit delete. You can always click undo. It's okay. And it's okay to not be everywhere, because that's not realistic. I mean, if you want to hire a marketing company that will put you on every social media platform available to mankind, okay, that's fine. It's going to be very costly, and that's also not what your business needs. I tell designers all the time, if you were just on Instagram, you'd be fine. And if you want to add Facebook to the mix, that's fine. But you don't need to be anywhere else. And please, for the love of all things good, can everyone in the home industry get off Twitter? Twitter is not working for anybody in the home industry. It does work well for other industries, but me being an online marketing company, I'm not even on Twitter. It doesn't have any negative effect on my business whatsoever. And in order to be successful on Twitter, you have to tweet like 5 to 10 times a day. Sorry, I don't have that kind of time. Nobody has that kind of time. So that's why I'm constantly on this bandwagon in my own marketing, telling people, just forget about this social media madness. Just be on one.
Thank you so much. I have a Twitter handle. I use it, honestly, to read about other things that have nothing to do. And I'm out there so I can see what my kids are tweeting. Otherwise, I don't use it. I don't tweet. So I'm just out there watching.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we know that we can't do it all. I love how you've just given us permission. Some of us needed it. Some of us are like, well, yeah, whatever. I already knew that. And that's good. I'm glad that they knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Putting together schedulers and templates and things like that are also super helpful to be able to go out and to tweet, or if we're not tweeting anymore, so we're not going to do it. But if we were to go out and do like a Facebook post, because a lot of people want to sit down and kind of crank out information all at once. And I know that you support using schedulers and template systems to get our marketing done. Tell me a little bit about how you see those two things working.
Absolutely. So I'm a huge fan of batch working. I don't apply it to every area of marketing, but when it comes to social media, absolutely. Because the way my team and I operate, we will schedule out 30 days worth of social media posts for any given client. And even for our own socialite marketing campaigns. So when you see me posting every single day on Instagram, I am not on Instagram every single day. I mean, I might go in and check, and respond to comments and everything, but I'm not coming up with a post right then and there. There's no way I could do that. It would take so much time. So I dedicate a couple hours in a given day every single month to curate all my images, to write 30 captions, to grab all the 25 to 30 hashtags I need for each post. And I use a platform called Hopper HQ for that. And there are other platforms that you can use, but I prefer using it because it's visual and there's an actual calendar in front of me, and I can click and drag if I'm like, well, I want this on this day and this on that day. Too many pictures of my dog in a row, something like that. So I just want to make sure that there's a good balance. And interestingly, just this morning, I was recording an episode for my podcast and talking about how to create a social media content calendar in a way that doesn't scare the pants off you. Because I know so many people are like, I don't know what to post on social media. Even if I'm just using one social platform, I have no clue what to say. And that's when you have to start with the end in mind. Like, okay, what are your goals for your business? What type of projects do you want to be working on in the next few months? What type of clients do you want to be working with? And I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but long story short, yes, use a scheduler so that you sit down, you're in the right frame of mind for those few hours and get it all booked out so that the rest of the month you can go run your business.
Okay, you also tell us, and you've taught this, and you're so right, that pretty much, I'm going to say, the pot of gold in our company is our email marketing campaigns and having clients that we can send newsletters out to. I've done newsletters for years, took a break for a while and started back. But I'm going to say the thing I love about them is they can be short and sweet. I know years ago when I started doing them, probably 10 years ago, oh my goodness, they were like mini magazines. And they were super stressful. And now they don't have to be. They actually are better off not being all of that. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit how you work with newsletters and email campaigns and your company's view on that.
Yeah. So we firmly believe, and not just us, but a lot of really successful marketers out there will tell you, the number of people in your email list is far more important than the number of people who follow you on social media. Because it doesn't matter if you have thousands and thousands of social media followers. When that social platform changes, you could lose everyone in an instant, or they could just gradually fade away because they don't see your posts anymore and they unfollow you and so on. So the space you have on social media is rented territory, but your mailing list is land that you own. And I would much rather build on land that I own than on land that I rent. So when it comes to email marketing is the last step in a sales funnel. Now, people tend to glaze over when I say sales funnel. So let me just break this down briefly. A sales funnel is the path someone takes from first hearing about you to writing you a check, which is what we're all after. Let's just be honest. When someone meets you on social media, the whole point of social media is to send them to your website. It doesn't matter if they follow you on social or not. They are just supposed to get to your website. And that is why when I have designers say to me, well, Kate, I'm not getting clients directly from social media. That's why I need you to help me. I say, no, hold it right there. I'm not going to help you get clients directly from social media because that is not a long-term strategy for success. What I'm going to do is make you so darn irresistible that they will go to your website. They will opt into your mailing list because you're offering something for free or what have you. And then you will send them a newsletter every 4 weeks to remind them that you exist that you're in business and that you understand what their needs are. And that is the time that a lead converts into a sale. That is also the time that someone will forward your email to someone else, and that's how you get referrals and new clients. So it is proven again and again that email marketing, even if it's as simple as sending a monthly newsletter, is the best way to convert people, to get repeat business, to get those word of mouth referrals. And it's something that social media doesn't even come close to.
How much do you think should be in a newsletter? 3,
Like
5, 18 pages, something like that? Mini magazine?
So the newsletters that I create for my customers, because I actually have a membership platform that has like just dozens and dozens of email newsletters in it that are already created, they have about 300 words. 300, maybe 500, it depends on the topic. But if you send a newsletter that is like the next great American novel, nobody is going to read it, which means you're not going to get a consultation booked from it. You're not going to get a client from it. But instead, you're sending the message that you don't know when to stop talking. And people don't like people who don't stop talking. That's just the way the world works.
Yeah, I've gotten some, like I said, even when we started years ago, you felt like you had to put you're putting recipes, the next workout tip, you're putting, just like trying to put filler out there that nobody cares about. And the thing I love about your newsletters is that they not only have interesting information that the client would want, but they're beautifully done. And that beautiful piece is the piece that has to resonate with the client and represent the designer, right? And so they also are able, if they purchase your template system, your is it Socialite
Vault.
When they work with that, I love that you also allow them to put their logos and their identifiers. They can go in and change it. And the thing I just think is so awesome for efficiency is that the templates are already done, right? And the information is done. So now I can update it for my company. I can move on and go do something else where I can make money, designing or making the next great window treatment or upholstering the next chair or whatever it is I'm going to be doing, and not being caught in this quagmire of having to do something that I either don't know how to do, don't know how to lay it out, don't know where to get the information. There's so many I don't knows. I'm back to the beginning of our conversation. Why in the world do we think that we have to be excellent in every aspect of our business? Only going through school, like the first, 12 years, did you have to make good grades and everything. Then you move to college and they're like, oh, forget all that. Go find what you want to do and focus. And then we go start our own company and we go back white again and say we have to do everything. And then we get irritated when our clients want to do it themselves when we want them to hire us. But we're doing the same thing internally in our own business. And I think having to be the expert at not just who my market is, but how to respond to them and how to get the right picture and how to put it in the right form. I mean, good grief. We don't have any time to design if we're doing all that.
Absolutely. And I mean, quite honestly, each email newsletter that I create for the membership takes me several hours. It takes me several hours. And I've been doing this for years. It is like the highlight of my career. And if it takes me several hours, then I fully believe it when I have people come to me saying, I just spent 5 hours trying to create an email newsletter. It didn't go well. Please help me. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, first of all, I feel really bad for you because I bet you're really behind on everything else that you had to do. Second of all, I have to start over with your newsletter. I'm sorry. Because it's like this, like, you have too many other responsibilities. You don't need to do this too. And the beauty of my membership platform, Socialite Vault, is that the templates aren't just something that says, insert text here, insert image here. No, they're actually already formatted to look like magazine articles. And you can change the wording. You could swap out the image for one of your portfolio images. You can add links to your website, your service pages, your social media. You can make it as complicated or as simple as you would like. And the awesome part is I have people who know nothing about email marketing and they label themselves as tech challenged. Yet they're over there customizing and sending their own email newsletters and looking like a pro doing it because we have it all set up and all streamlined. And it's not costing them an arm and a leg, which is the beautiful thing, because I will never, ever forget what it feels like to be bootstrapping it. It is hard. So that's why I look for every possible avenue I can to make it easier and more affordable without reducing the level of quality and professionalism that you're putting into the world.
I think people feel that same ill, sick, yuck feeling when they open MailChimp that you felt when you opened QuickBooks.
Yep.
It's that this is a big thing in front of me, and I don't know, I don't understand, I don't have confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you give them that through Socialite Vault, which is similar to what I try to give them on the financials. I don't want you to feel sick when you open QuickBooks. I want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel confident. Now, it doesn't mean you got to be the bookkeeper and the accountant. We're going to outsource that, if we need to. But I want you to feel good when you open it, that you know where the numbers go. You can look at it and you can run a report. And it's that same kind of feeling that you're giving to these designers and workrooms and home stagers with regard to their newsletters.
Yeah. And because so many people have requested it, we've also added social media posts to the vault. So if you want to manage your own social media, we have literally hundreds of posts in there that have the image. It has a caption already written. It's got the hashtags already gathered for you if you want to put them on Instagram. And anything can be edited, obviously, because we don't want everyone to sound the same. But the point is, it's done for you. So it removes the excuse of, I don't know what to do or I don't know what to say. And if you are in this weird position in your business where you do have enough time, you may be a little short on funds right now, you're not ready for someone to manage this like full out custom for you, then this is a perfect solution. But it's just a matter of taking charge, which honestly, as entrepreneurs, we have no problem taking charge. We have a problem letting go.
That's it. That's exactly it. Okay. We have talked about marketing. We've talked about niches. We've talked about newsletters. We've talked about social media. How often should we look at our marketing strategies? Because, I've been in business, for a long time, but I've even been in my coaching business now since early 2013. My ideal client's not the same as it was in 2013. My products and services aren't the same. Where I want to drive my clients to on my website or the next is not the same. And so my marketing can't be the same over the entire time. How often should we look at that, Kate? And what should we be looking for?
So I suggest that everyone reviews their marketing every quarter. And Michelle, I know you've gotten quarterly reports from me before, because I just feel like when you look at your marketing month to month, it's hard to see the trends that are happening. It's hard to see if there is a huge jump in growth or not, because social media is gradual. And then with email marketing or website traffic, you do need to step back and look at the big picture. So every quarter is ideal. And then the things you should be looking for will depend on the different avenues you're marketing in. So for social media, don't look at how many followers you have. And that's, of course, where everyone wants to look first. But what you should actually be looking at are how many people are going from social media to my website, because that's what social media is supposed to do. If it's not doing that, then something is wrong. It's not working. Now, the whole point of your website is to capture people's names and emails, get them to click further into your site. So if your website has a high bounce rate, which simply means someone landed on one page of your site and they didn't click anywhere, they just left, that's a bad sign. That means it didn't resonate with them. There was no next step for them to take, and you lost that lead. That will impact your bottom line. That's not good. So bounce rate is something to be aware of. And then with email marketing, you want to make sure that people are actually opening your emails. So if you have an open rate of 20% or higher, you're doing a great job. If you can get it above 30%, that is excellent. You're way above the industry average. And for I have clients and customers who are in the 50 percentile, it's like, okay, that means you're totally killing it. And as long as you stay above that 20% and you are getting, maybe even just one response to each email newsletter you send out, that makes it worth it, because that means that it is starting a conversation with a potential client. And sometimes when people first start out email marketing, like sending that email newsletter, or they restart it after being quiet for a long time, they're going to get a wave of people who unsubscribe, and don't take that personally. It happens to everyone, including me. So don't use that as a way to measure the success or failure of your email marketing. But you have to every quarter back up and look at the trends. Are things going up? Are things going down? Are they staying the same? And then look at your goals for your business. And if the goals for your business are the same this quarter as they were last quarter, great. You don't have to change anything. But if you're trying to start up a new service offering, or you're launching an online store, then your marketing will definitely have to adapt.
So if you can offer one piece of advice to help the people in the interior design industry be more profitable with time, resources, with regard to marketing, what would that be?
So I would say, do not wait to start email marketing, because not only is it easy for you to do on your own compared to, say, social media, but it will also bring you a faster return on your investment. And when you're just getting started, especially, it can be hard to put all this effort into everything and then see no fruit for your labor. It can be very depressing. So I would just say that if you want to get the most bang for your buck, email marketing is where it's at.
Okay. Kate, what are you doing in your business to set yourself up to be profitable?
So, being a little bit redundant on my part, but like I said, I added another person to my team just yesterday. And that's because I'm recognizing that the things I used to love doing in my business, I don't necessarily love anymore, or it's burning me out, or there are just other areas of my business that need attention. So my big thing in 2018 and going into 2019 is just having a radar for all the different areas that I still need to outsource, because more keep popping up. And maybe they're within my business, maybe they're outside of my business. Like maybe I need to hire a cleaning lady. I don't know. So it's like, because I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. Otherwise, the things that I used to love doing, I will start to hate. They'll become a thorn in my side, which is kind of like what you said earlier about losing your passion. And in a creative industry, as a creative person, if I run out of creativity, that is a scary thought. So I have to do everything I can to protect my own creativity. And I also have to remember where that creativity comes from. It is not from me. It is given to me by God. And I know that not everybody has that faith, and that's something that I can respect. But for me, it's incredibly important to make sure my priorities stay in line, and that I don't think so highly of myself that I think I can just keep doing all these things. I can keep control over everything, because I can't. And the more I let go, the more I grow.
I love Wonder Woman, but I don't need to be her.
Mm-hmm.
There are times and I would say aspects of my business where I have to do the Wonder Woman pose to build my confidence to get through the next few things. But I don't want to feel like I've got to hold the weight of everything on my shoulders in my company. I just don't want to do that. I don't want my clients to feel that way, because that is too heavy. And I know when designers and workrooms call me and they say, I don't care if I ever do this anymore. I mean, that comes from a place of brokenness. And there was a lot that happened that led them, to that place. And so I love that you're trying to sustain the passion that you have for your company. And as we talked about, sustainability and profitability go hand in hand, because the more you take care of you and take care of your team and grow your team in the right way, the more money you all make.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And let's be honest, you are building a log cabin, so you do need some profits.
Yes. Yeah. So, and that's again a reflection of having a long-term goal and working towards it. Because for the past 4 years, since we got married, my husband and I have been living in a 1970s trailer home. Not because we can't afford anything more, but because we have a very specific goal in mind. So I'd say about 300 feet from where I'm sitting right now, we have a log home that's about halfway done. That is our dream home. that is what we have been working towards, saving for, praying for, and it's worth it. So to like all the businesses out there who are just working and striving, don't lose your passion. Do everything you can to protect it. But you also have to know that there does come a certain level of investment. With me, building a home, definite investment. And while I'm kind of a money hoarder, or as you like to nicely call it, a natural saver, I call it money hoarding.
I was trying to be nice.
Yeah, it's like there does come a time where it's like, okay, we need to invest in quality here. Same is true of our businesses. We need a quality business coach. We need someone we can run to when we have no clue what to do. We need a quality marketing company who actually understands what our goals are for our business. And it can be hard to just bite the bullet, write the check. But when you start to see your business grow as a result of it, you'll wonder, why didn't I do this last year?
People keep asking me once they understand their financials, kind of the piece that I focus on. I outsource marketing because I can't focus on that and run all the numbers. So that's my thing is let's get you profitable. Let's understand the numbers. Let's make sure you're pricing correctly. And of course, I have to ask them who they are and why they're in business because their pricing has to line up with who they are, just like their marketing does. And once that kind of, like you said, that money mindset, just kind of you blast through the wall that's stopping you or holding you back, they always go, where were you when?
Yep.
And they say the same, where were you when? And I think that's a beautiful testament to the fact that we're working in our passion separately and together. And the other people, in the industry can do the same thing. Work in your passion and then get that support team to help you out. Sometimes it can be a peer, sometimes it could be a spouse, and sometimes you have to hire a professional who can just step in and fill the gap for what you don't know to get you where you want to go.
Yep. It's running a business is hard. We shouldn't expect to just do it all on our own. That's not realistic.
It's not. Kate, thank you so much for your time today. I was making notes as we were talking for all the different topics that we hit. And we broad stroked marketing like nobody's business. So I'm going to need to have you back. So just know you're going to have to come back and we're going to have to dig in a little more on some of these topics because I think the conversation is rich and I think it is really needed. But before we do that, everybody go check out the Kate Show. Kate is enjoyable. She's going to give good information. She's got the sweetest giggle. I love to listen to you laugh in it. You get tickled at yourself. And I will tell you, the people that she talks to are top notch and they're trustworthy because, there are a lot of people saying a lot of things in the world because social media has opened up all of that. But you can trust what you hear on her show. So head over to the Kate Show and I'll make sure we put that in the show notes. All the links to find Kate will also be in the show notes. So again, thank you so much. And I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle.